Reid from Rhode Island is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And first, let me all thank you for your support of our military men and women. They are superb, and their spouses are superb, so thank you for helping them out. With respect to the legislation that we passed several years ago, the Military Lending Act, I think the key aspect is the 36% interest cap. And I think it's such a critical aspect that it should not be just a province of military personnel, but every American. I think essentially your banks collectively have made about $219 billion in profit this year, and I believe that your credit cards are not beyond 30%. So the 30%, 6% rather, interest rate seems to be very appropriate. And so I can go down starting with Mr. Scharf. Would you support a national 36% interest cap?
Senator, I appreciate your thoughts on this one. I think we would be concerned about setting a flat number without really understanding what the impact could be in different inflationary environments.
Mr. Moynihan?
Senator, it's not really relevant to us. We don't engage in prime lending. I think, as Mr. Scharf said, it's a question of balance. What would it push outside the system? What would it make not available? And I think, but it's just not a relevant question for us because we don't have rates that high.
Well, I guess in a general sense it's relevant because most of the people who use this adversely are payday lenders and rather dubious operators who will induce borrowers into arrangements which are something you wouldn't even tolerate. So I think that we've reached a point now after several years of questioning you all, and I'm not picking on you, Mr. Moynihan, to come to a conclusion. And I think the conclusion is it should. Mr. Diamond, please.
Yeah, we don't engage in that. I completely agree with your intent. I think there should be a focus on payday lenders and check cashers and certain things like that. And we'd love to help you design it so it accomplishes the intent without any bad consequences. There are some people who make very small loans who it may stop them from doing that and actually push people into payday lending.
Ms. Fraser, please.
Senator, thank you for the question. We applaud the intent of what you're trying to do. I think as large banks, we're very mindful of our responsibilities in protecting our customers from abuses. Experience has shown that caps diminish access to credit, can do in the systems, and the Federal Reserve has a study to show that. So I think similar to my colleagues, we believe there are other ways to achieve the intent, but we'd be supportive of following up with you on how.
Mr. O'Handley.
Senator, we don't engage in consumer lending, but we do support what you're trying to achieve there.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vince.
Senator, we're also not in the consumer business, but we support the intent.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan.
We have a very, very small business in the consumer area, but we support the intent.
Thank you.
I support it, Senator. For what I consider normal economic times, I actually came to this country and borrowed at 24%. So not quite your 36. I found that particularly heinous, but turned out okay. But no, I think anybody who's forced to borrow at 36%, that's sort of unforgivable.
I was living in the United States when I was borrowing at 24%. In fact, I recall we had to repeal the Rhode Island legislation because it was 21%. So, again, I hope to work with you on this because I think it's very important. And I don't think it'll cause the disruptions which you might anticipate. I think it can be done. And I think the other thing it should be done, and I know many of you are doing it, is to go out aggressively and start getting people banked. One of the reasons that they find themselves borrowing money from unscrupulous characters is because they have not been fully introduced to the banking system, understand that it's relatively easy and it's much more appropriate than some of these other arrangements. But thank you all, and we'll continue to work, and any advice I'd appreciate. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Reid.